Okay, so a topic that you may have heard of in the past is a design system. And so let's first address what that is. Well, essentially, it's a set of assets and components, as well as documentation and guidelines for a business, for a business's identity. So if we're talking about a design system for a layout is just one area in which that design system can be applied. It can be applied in package design. It could be applied in any other visual, aesthetic that might be applied for a company. So obviously everything that we do right here is going to be geared towards a layout, but it could just be easily used, it being a design system, for many other aspects of a business. So we're going to create our design system here in Figma. And of course, there are other tools and services you can use for this, but it's perfectly fine because we can use Figma pages to separate our design system from the actual design or the layouts that we create. So depending on the situation, you may be working with a business that's already established. Maybe they already have a design system. We're not going to make that assumption. If that is the case, then your life might be easier depending on the quality of the design system, because once you start establishing this design system, it's quite easy to keep on designing with that as your guideline. But we're going to create one from scratch for a fictional business. All right, so our design here is going to be very simple. It's not going to be a full design. It's not going to be a full design system, but I just kind of want to get your feet wet before we get to the final project where we will create a full design system based on a layout that we create. So we're going to start here. If you click on this little drop down where it says page 1, let's just double click this and just call this our design. This is where our actual layout is going to be created, and then we'll create some other pages as we go to build out the design system. So the design system isn't something typically in this context when you're first starting out that you have to create the design system first and then design. We're going to take the approach of we're going to create the layout and we're going to make decisions, and as we start to make decisions, we start building and adding to actively our design system. So a design system is something that's not ever finished. It's an ongoing organism, so to speak. All right, so we have our design here. Let's just start off maybe with a tablet version because we haven't done many tablet designs. Of course, you could start off with any device size that you wish for this example. We're going to use a light design, so I'm going to make the background a darker color. And I think our design will be based on like a blue hue or something like that. So let's just add a little bit of blue here. So if we go to hex, it's going to be 21252C if you want to follow along. You don't have to, of course. Maybe you can use your own colors. All right, so let's just get a logo. Again, I don't have a logo prepared for this, but we're just going to type in new comp for new company. Now, of course, we can't see that. Now, already we have our design system. We can start thinking of something if we have a logo here. A logo is a part of a design system, and where would that go? Well, let's first go ahead and just create this very simple word mark, letter-based logo, and then we'll get to adding to the design system. So for us, we're going to use a font called Poppins, and of course we use that a lot through here in this course already. And we're going to make this, let's see here, let's start off with 36. That might be a little bit large, so let's try 32. Let's do 28. And then we're also going to make it bold. All right, so for our color, let's grab our canvas color here. And I think I like that color. That works pretty well. Now, before we forget, let's add a layout grid. And let's do columns. And let's choose 8. And we'll use about a margin of 80 or so. And for now, we'll go ahead and make this black. And maybe around 7%. All right, so that way we can line things up as they need to be. And right there looks pretty good. Okay, so we've established a few things. First, we've established typography. Now, the type inside of a logo doesn't always have to be the type that you use outside, but we're going to make that determination right now. We're going to use Poppins throughout. And also, we've established a color, a primary color or a primary hue from which we can then add different tints to. So we have a couple things going already. So first what we'll do is we'll create our component right here. All right, so now we have our component. Let's just call this logo right here. And I'm going to copy that, and we're going to create a new page. We're going to call this page assets, and it's going to be one of multiple pages that will comprise of our design system. Your design system, the full thing, could go in one page if you wish and just name it design system, or you could create multiple pages, one for assets, one for typography, one for colors, one for documentation, etc., etc. We're going to take that approach essentially. So what we'll do here is just create a frame. The frame size doesn't matter. We can always just adjust it. This isn't actually a layout that we're creating. We're just creating the design system. And I'm going to, what I'll do is come over here back to our design, and for our logo, let's just delete that. We'll take our assets, and now we have the main instance of the logo right here. And let's go ahead and start designing a little bit of a layout just for our design system. So for our design system, we could we can name a section called logo, as this would be a part of our assets. And let's choose or maybe just a regular, with a pretty small size. So this is gonna be logo. And maybe we'll add like a little heading line just to direct and kind of solidify various areas of our assets page here. Maybe we'll put this right there. All right, so that's our logo page, and here is our actual logo. Now outside of that, we can take this and just put in standard. So you might have multiple iterations of the logo for different purposes. So we're going to call this one standard, and let's make this a little bit larger, maybe around 20. And let's also get our primary color here, and maybe we'll make it around a mid-gray, somewhere around there. Now we could call this dark instead, and this is the dark logo that's to be shown on a light background. Then maybe on the right side, if we had like a dark mode version of our app, we could show that same logo, what exactly it would look like, which color it's being used with, a dark background. But we're gonna just leave it like this for now. And another thing that's really important is based on the color that's being used. This is not black. What we should do at this point, we'll double click into here. We can also add, and this is very important when you're building out a design system, we're gonna add this to our primary colors. So for this, we're just going to call it like this, color, and it'll be primary. And then also, the way we name it in this area, a popular way is to simply put in the lightness or darkness value. If we looked at the HSL, L for lightness slider, for the particular shade essentially of that hue. We don't know what that is because we haven't looked at it yet, but we're just going to put in, for now, we'll just put in, you could also do that, or if you have a simpler design system, you could just call this darkest or darker, dark, and light, neutral. You can use other naming variations as well. For us, I think we'll just take the approach of using darkest, but I do want to mention really quickly what I meant. If we click over here and go to edit style and we change this from HSL, or rather from hex to HSL, you'll see we have hue, saturation, and lightness. So the lightness value is 15 here. So you could name this color primary 15, and that's a common way to create or name rather your colors. And let's go back to our assets, and we'll drag this in, put this back into place, and now we're ready to continue on building the next section of the layout, which is going to be a little bit of a navigation over here.